Hello there everyone. I'm making this video after a long break and I just thought that I should upload some tutorial for all of you and everyone who has been asking me on Instagram to show my drawing process. So hopefully by the end of this video you would be able to draw eyes like a pro, like the illustration which you can see over here. This is a drawing in pen and ink that I made several years ago, but today we'll be starting with drawing using a pencil. So let's get right into it. So there are two methods to draw any part of the human anatomy. The first one is the use of guidelines and the use of perfect shapes in order to create a form. So if you're drawing an eye, this would mean that you create all of the components of the eye and the surrounding area. And then you build on top of it until you get a finished result. The second method is drawing from a reference. And this involves a completely different process. Some people like to use grids, in which they literally divide the paper in the form of a grid and then place each part in the grid in order to copy the image. If you were to follow this approach, you are essentially training yourself to do the job of a printer. I do not think that this is a good way of practicing drawing, and hence I do not suggest that you practice this method at all. Instead, what you would want to do is use arbitrary shapes which often do not mean anything. So you are going to be using just your intuition in order to create something that is more lively and something that is more captivating, and I don't know how to properly describe it, but you will be able to draw much better if you were to sort of draw using intuition rather than the use of guidelines. Well, that is just my suggestion to you regarding this one, but for this tutorial we'll focus on drawing human anatomy. So we're not really drawing the eye as such, because you're never really drawing just the eye when you talk about drawing eyes. You are drawing a part of the face along with the eye, so it is much more interesting, and I would like to just show you using an example. You can follow along as well if you'd like. We'll start with drawing just one of the eyes. One thing that you need to keep in mind while drawing eyes is where you place the iris and the pupil. Depending on your relative placement of the inner part of the eye, you can change the whole expression. So what I mean is that if a person is, let's say, in a sleepy state, then you might have seen this in comics and anime that they would draw the eye right around the upper edge, whereas if somebody's alert, then they would often exaggerate and draw the eye in this manner. Now this is just to create different emotions in your mind. Back to drawing the eye, I like to always start with drawing the upper eyelid and then the lower eyelid and then the inside part of the eye. Some people like to start by drawing the eyebrows first. Well, you can also do that if you want. The next thing that we are going to do is draw the upper eyelid. And the shadow area that is present below the eyeball over the skin. I would like to suggest a trick if you would want the viewer to easily distinguish whether the person you're drawing is a man or a woman, and that is just to draw thick eyelashes if you want to draw a woman. I'm considering that the light source is on the left. Shading the portion around the eye just helps it appear that much more realistic. And there you have it. That is a simple sketch of the human eye. Many beginners often struggle with drawing facial anatomy, as in drawing both of the eyes being identical to each other. So often you would have one eye bigger than the other. I used to face this problem as well, and I don't think there is really a better solution than to use guidelines for this. So you always must use two lines in order to get a brief idea of where the position of the eyes is if you are a beginner. Now, I am completely against the use of any form of guidelines, but in this case, if you are a beginner, then this really helps. So guidelines for beginners is a must. So that's it for this lesson, and yeah, let me know if you'd want to see more such tutorials in the future. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.